Have you ever watched an entire freight train bend around the mountain while standing right in the middle of the curve? Today, we're visiting two of Altoona, Pennsylvania's most important railroad attractions, the world famous Horseshoe Curve and the Railroaders Memorial Museum. We'll climb 194 steps to see one of America's greatest railroad engineering achievements, watch passenger and freight trains cross the Allegheny Mountains, and discover how the Pennsylvania Railroad transformed Altoona into one of America's most important railroad towns. But are these attractions only for serious rail fans, or are they worth visiting for anyone interested in American history? Let's find out. Our first stop was Horseshoe Curve National Historic Landmark, located just outside Altoona. Parking was free during our visit, and before we headed up to the observation area, we explored the small museum inside the visitor center. The museum explains why Horseshoe Curve was needed, how it was built, and why it became so important to the Pennsylvania Railroad. Before the curve opened, crossing the Allegheny Mountains was a major challenge. The Pennsylvania Railroad needed a route that would allow its trains to climb the mountains without facing grades that were too steep. Construction of Horseshoe Curve was completed in 1854. The finished curve stretches approximately 2,375 feet and bends 220 degrees and remains part of an active railroad line today. It was such an important engineering achievement that Horseshoe Curve was designated a historical landmark in 1966. Without that background, Horseshoe Curve might simply look like several railroad tracks winding around a hillside. Once you understand the challenges involved in building it, you begin to appreciate why it was such an important accomplishment. Normally, visitors can ride a funicular from the visitor center to the observation area. However, when we visited, the funicular was still under repair. That means we had to reach the curve the old-fashioned way, by climbing all 194 steps. The climb is manageable if you take your time, but it is something visitors should know before arriving. There are places along the way where you can stop, rest, and catch your breath. Once we reached the top, the view made the climb worthwhile. The observation area is positioned inside Horseshoe Curve, allowing you to watch trains from one direction, wrap around the mountain, and then continue towards Altoona or Pittsburgh. The curve is so wide that a long freight train can sometimes surround much of the observation area. During our visit, we saw Amtrak Pennsylvanian travel around the curve. The Pennsylvania operates daily between New York City and Pittsburgh, with Horseshoe Curve listed as one of the scenic highlights along the route. Normally, the passengers aboard the train are looking out at Horseshoe Curve, where we're standing at the curve watching them. We also saw 3 freight trains during our visit. There isn't a published schedule for freight traffic, so seeing trains requires a little patience. You might see several trains close together, or you may have to wait a while. For us, watching those long freight trains bend around the mountain was the highlight of the experience. You can read about Horseshoe Curve and you can look at the photographs, but seeing a working freight train use this historic route gives you a much greater appreciation for its size and importance. The following day, we continued our Altoona Railroad experience at the Railroaders Memorial Museum. The museum is located in downtown Altoona, next to the active railroad tracks and a short walk from Altoona's Amtrak station. Parking was also free for our visit. Adult admission to the Railroaders Memorial Museum was $18. They also offered a $28 combination ticket that included admission to both the Railroaders Memorial Museum and Horseshoe Curve. However, both attractions must be visited on the same day to use the combination ticket. Because we visited Horseshoe Curve on Friday and the Railroaders Museum on Saturday, we couldn't take advantage of the combination ticket. If you have enough time to visit both in one day, the combination ticket may be the better value. However, splitting the attraction between 2 days gave us more time to explore and more time to wait for trains. Before entering the museum, take a moment to look at the building itself because it is an important part of Altoona's railroad history. The Railroaders Memorial Museum first opened in 1980. It relocated to the Pennsylvania Railroaders' former Master Mechanics Building. Constructed in 1882, the building was used for approximately a century of railroad operations. It originally housed the Pennsylvania Railroad's physical and chemical laboratories. During the following years, it was used for medical offices, storage, and the railroad police headquarters. Today, the Master Mechanics Building is the only surviving structure from Altoona's once massive machine shops. Its industrial architecture makes the building more than simply a place to display railroad history. The building is one of the museum's most important artifacts. It stands as a monument to the thousands of railroaders who built locomotives, maintained the equipment, and helped turn Altoona into one of America's greatest railroad towns. The Railroaders Memorial Museum is about the people who built, maintained, and operated the railroad, and the community that grew around them. The Pennsylvania Railroad established Altoona in 1849 as a base for its operations across the Allegheny Mountains. At its peak, the railroad wasn't simply another employer in Altoona. The museum takes you back to the golden age of railroading, and thousands of people worked in Altoona's railroad shops. These were machinists, boilermakers, blacksmiths, engineers, conductors, and laborers who built and maintained the locomotives that kept the Pennsylvania Railroad moving. The exhibits don't only explain what railroaders did when they were at work, they also show the homes, neighborhoods, and communities where the workers and their families lived. That human side of the story is what made this museum memorable for us. You begin to understand Altoona wasn't simply a town that happened to have a railroad running through it. Altoona was a railroad town. The railroad created jobs, attracted families, supported local businesses, and helped determine the identity of the entire community. After exploring the museum, we walked towards the Altoona train station located next to the museum. We were able to watch a few more freight trains pass through downtown Altoona. So, are Horseshoe Curve and the Railroaders Memorial Museum worth visiting? For us, the answer is yes, especially if you enjoy trains, engineering, or American industrial history. Horseshoe Curve was the stronger attraction for watching trains. The small museum provided helpful background, and seeing Amtrak Pennsylvanian and 3 freight trains make their way across the curve was an unforgettable experience. Just remember, if the funicular isn't operating, you need to climb 194 steps to reach the observation area. The Railroaders Memorial Museum provides a different kind of experience. Its collection of outdoor rolling stock may not impress serious railroad museum enthusiasts, but the exhibits inside do an excellent job of telling the story of Altoona, the Pennsylvania Railroad, and the people who kept the railroad running. Together, 2 attractions provide a much more complete story. Horseshoe Curve shows you what the railroad built. The Railroaders Memorial Museum introduces you to the people who built it. If you're traveling through central Pennsylvania, Altoona is definitely worth adding to your itinerary. Have you ever visited Horseshoe Curve, or is there another historic railroad location we should visit? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed coming along with us, please give this video a like, subscribe to Got the Magnet, and join us on our next adventure.